we've got another episode of GH Spotlight right here on ABC11.com. And our guest this week is the lovely and talented Kelly Thiebaud, better known as Britt Westbourne, making her return to, well, not necessarily Port Charles yet.
Not yet. Who knows if she's going back there? We'll see.
Exactly. Let's just kind of go back to the beginning. When did you realize you wanted to get into this crazy world of acting?
Wow. Well, let's see. I mean, I don't think I knew it yet, but I loved movies when I was a kid. I was very kind of dramatic in the sense that like I loved to cry and I loved drama. And so I watched a lot of movies and performed singing in front of my family. So I think when I was around like kind of between the ages of like 10 to 15, somewhere around then, I started enjoying the performing aspect of things, but not yet knowing that that was a career that you could pursue. I'm from a very small town in Texas. No one in my family is in the business. So it just was something that I was completely unaware of. And then, universe, God, whatever kind of brought me to LA when I was very young at 17. And I started trying to model. And then it was when I started doing these David Guetta music videos. He's a French DJ that's crossed over now to America. He's huge. And at the time he was like just starting out. And so I did these 5 music videos where I was like the main girl in the video. And it kind of started like piquing my interest with performing and acting. And then slowly after that, I started getting into classes and like starting to kind of learn and understand what this whole thing is. So probably like in my mid 20s is when I really started to like go, huh, this is fun. What is all this? And started kind of like figuring it out.
It's been around for over 60 plus years. Did you watch it growing up or through college or anytime before you actually landed the role almost 12 years ago?
Did I watch soaps?
Yeah, soaps, specifically GH, but soaps in general.
I didn't. I didn't grow up in a household that watched them. But then when I moved to LA, probably like right when I first started trying to act and getting into the business, I got hooked on GH and I was watching it during the day, like if I was home. So I did become a fan of the show. And so it's cool, like I got to work with a lot of the actors that I used to watch on the show. And that's kind of just a wonderful thing, when you're a
So
fan of first and then you get to work with them.
when did you find out about the role of Britt Westbourne and how did the whole casting process come about?
Yeah, I was in a really aggressive like auditioning season in my life, testing for a lot of pilots. So I was getting very close to doing primetime stuff. And the role, I auditioned at I auditioned multiple times at General Hospital, but one time I auditioned to play, I think it was like Jason's nanny or something. At least that's what the role initially was. Sometimes they just give you something, but it's not actually what you would do on the day. So I didn't get that, but I guess they saw something in me. And this role, Britt Westbourne, came around and they offered it to me because she was like a snarky, bitchy, like woman coming into town causing havoc. And I kind of do those roles really well, unfortunately or fortunately. And so they offered the role to me and that was really amazing. And it just started as a recurring character. And it was great. It allowed me to like still do my other stuff that I wanted to do. And I got to learn a lot about acting and about soap operas while doing it. And then it turned into this whole, career now.
You mentioned it started out as a recurring role. What was your thought when you got that first contract?
I was scared, honestly. And I think I've told this story before, but I initially, when I got on the show, I was like doing a lot of homework. I was getting coached with my acting coach for the material that I was working on GH, and I was just taking it very seriously. And I kind of slacked a little bit throughout my first like couple months on the show. So I felt like I started doing like a really terrible job. And so when my boss came to me and he was like, "Hey, I need to talk to you," I was like, "Oh no, I'm getting fired because I suck." you know? And then he was like, we want to offer you a contract. I think my jaw literally dropped to the ground. I was so shocked. And it took me a bit of time. It took me like 2 weeks to fully say yes to it because I was nervous. I think everyone can agree with my experience on the show that maybe I don't do well kind of being like under contract because I am someone who really loves to like, I'm a free spirit. I love to kind of like go and spread my wings and travel and do other projects. And a soap, you're there. It's a commitment. And so I was very nervous about that commitment. But I decided to say yes, and I'm so glad that I did.
You and I actually spoke back in 2022 prior to the Daytime Emmys, where you won your first Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress. What was your thoughts when you heard your name? Oh
God,
my God, you actually won this award on your first nomination.
I was I was so shocked. I remember my name was the last, like as they were announcing the nominees, my name was the last one. And so I was listening to all the applause from all the different nominees being listed. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to get this. This isn't mine. And so when my name got called as the winner, I was just like completely floored. Had a really wonderful moment with my mom, gave her a hug. And I remember walking to stage, just feeling so out of my body and not knowing. I was like sweating and shaking and not knowing what to say and very nervous. I don't do well speaking in public like that. And so I was like really nervous to get up and make a speech. But it was just like, it was so overwhelming. It was in the best way. It was just the most wonderful experience, a night that I will never forget.
Then you eventually, as you said, you love to travel. You spent the last couple of years in London. Talk about that.
Yeah. Um, I was on the show in 2020. They brought me back in 2021, I think it was, or the end of 2020. I can't remember the timeline, but they brought me back for a year. And I was like, sure, we're in the middle of COVID. My industry is like in shambles. No one knows what's going on. Like, I'd love to come back for a year. And then they started writing me like really great storyline. They started pairing me with Steve Burton, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like something great is happening here. So I decided to sign a 3-year contract. And so I met someone that lived abroad and we quickly fell in love. And I thought that this was going to be my person to build a family with. And I started this journey of selling all my stuff, selling my car, getting out of my place, and moving abroad. It all happened really fast, and it wasn't something that I was even searching for. It just kind of happened. And I look back on it now, and I truly feel like it was an experience that I was supposed to go through. Personally, there was still a lot of lessons that I needed to learn, and I learned them. And also, even though it was something that turned out to be a traumatic experience for me, it was also like an incredible experience living abroad. I miss it every single day. I love London, and it was really wonderful. Now I'm, slowly rebuilding my life, and it's been really challenging, but also I feel lucky to get to rebuild and do things differently and have a job again that I feel very welcomed to be back, and I feel extremely grateful to be back. I did not know if that was going to happen.
Do you personally know how Britt survived yet? Just yes or no. I mean, we
Yeah,
don't.
I think I do. There's been some stuff that we've shot that's starting to like make sense, and I think I do. I think I do, and it's actually really great. Yeah, I think in my mind I was thinking it was going to be this like huge kind of explanation that needed to happen, but what we've done so far, as far as what we've shot, it's actually kind of a very simple storyline that hopefully, if we did it right, people will understand, you know.
Have you? I know not on screen you haven't, but have you reunited with Kathleen Gotti in studio yet?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I saw her on my first day.
What was that like?
It was so great. I absolutely adore her. She's incredible. I'm so happy that she's back. and that eventually, hopefully, we will get to have scenes together. And I just look up to her and think that she's so special. And she is kind of like my like my second mom. And she always takes care of me, and she's just fantastic.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about the first couple of scenes with Steve.
Yeah, it was great. It was like an unfortunate and fortunate situation because unfortunately I got to work with him like right when I came back on the show, which for me was really difficult to just like get back into the groove of that kind of acting and pace and writing and everything. So I felt really just insecure and not confident like the first month that I was there. But fortunately, you know how soaps sometimes take a long time to bring people together? Fortunately, that didn't happen with these two characters. They really just like immediately like made them have this reunion and see each other. So I was very grateful for that. But yeah, would I have loved to be like 2 months into working there and kind of having that flow again before Steve and I had those big scenes? Yes. But I love Steve. I think we have something really special, and I hope that, you know, we get great writing and we can really tell this story because there's a lot there. And it's great. I'm really happy. And people are like, I've noticed on social media, people are like, why are you yelling at Steve? Why are you yelling at Jason? It makes me, I'm like, he let me believe he was dead. He let me mourn him.
Is Britt back or is the Britch back?
Well, I think unfortunately the britch is back.
Why do you say that?
Yeah, because I worked,
Without giving too much, obviously.
yeah, I worked really hard to kind of make her likable and redeemable, and the writers did as well. It wasn't just me, but as much as I love kind of being catty and bitchy and whatnot, I truly believe you can only do so much of that. And so I am currently trying to play against some of the bitchiness that we have with Britt at the moment. And I hope it doesn't last very long, but you have to, as an actor, you have to justify everything that you do and why your character is saying what it's saying. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, is just make it make sense from what she's going through and coming back, reuniting with certain people, like how that affects her.
What do you want to see with Jason and Britt?
I mean, I would love to see like a really beautiful love story, you know. I think both of the characters deserve that. I think we were on the road to that before both Steve and I left. And I think we have the chemistry to pull it off. And I think the show needs it. There's a lot of different things going on with the show. I think to have a really beautiful love story the fans would really love that. And I would love that for my character after all these years and what she's been through. I think it would be really great.
Want to go back to the softer side of Britt that
Not
we saw towards the end?
necessarily. Yeah, I mean, not necessarily. Like, I think she'll always have a little bit of, edge to her and maybe not always say the right thing to people. And I like that about her. She is complicated. She comes from a complicated family. So I have to allow those things to exist. I just don't want that to be her whole kind of persona, you know.
This question I always ask: what, without giving too much away, what can fans expect over the next couple of weeks for Britt?
Oof. Well, there's going to be a couple of moments with her mom that are really intense. And she's just trying to how can I don't know how can I can say this without giving so much away. Like I guess like I said a minute ago, she's gonna lean more of the bridge over the next couple of weeks. And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.